most important Porsche launched in the last 12 months isn't actually the 911 Dakar or the GT3 RS. It's this. The Cayenne is not going to just pay the majority of Porsche's bills, it's also going to give you and me the best possible look at what we might expect to find in the next 911's interior. This is basically the heaviest facelift possible. Porsche's done way more than just tweak the lights though. There's a new engine lineup, more hybrid range, extra power and cleverer technology. But I'm not interested in any of that right now, actually, because normally when I'd show you around a car, we'd start with the outside first. But today, you really need to join me in here. So then, the future of a Porsche interior. I think I can sum it up for you in one word: screens. Yeah, let's start with this one up here because this is very Taycan, this curved, binnacle-free display right in front of the driver, and that means no more physical rev counter. Bit of a shame, but don't worry, if we scroll through here, and don't worry if you're seeing any error messages, this one's a very early prototype, so some of the bits aren't connected. But if you keep scrolling, eventually you get to a classic Porsche central rev counter with the speedo and the temperatures off to the side. There we go, proper readable dials. Do you remember when you could get those in a BMW? And also, you can't see this, but in front of me there is a very, very clear head-up display. Other little details actually before we come to the other screens. Down here, there's something I'm not sure about. You see, back in the day, back for as long as you can remember really, Porsches always had the ignition key to the left of the steering wheel. Do you know what that is? Actually came from Le Mans and endurance racing. You see, back in the days when the drivers used to run to the cars and start them before they set off, someone clever at Porsche worked out that if the driver started the engine with his left hand while he was putting the car into gear with his right hand, then he might save a couple of precious tenths of a second and get ahead of the opposition. So Porsche road cars have always copied that little motorsport touch and had their twisty knob here, but now it's just a starter button like every other car. A little bit of Porsche heritage has just died there. And while I'm off down a tangent about new age controls, you notice something missing down here? Remember the old burly gear lever? Well, that's gone, and that's moved all the way up here. It means you can't shift manually on it anymore, but did anyone really do that in their Cayenne? Instead, they've copied the Taycan and freed up some storage space. Back to those pixels then. Front and centre is a 12.3-inch touchscreen, pretty standard stuff. But like the Taycan, there's now the option of a 10.9-inch screen on the passenger side, which has a special foil coating so the driver isn't distracted by whatever movie the passenger is streaming. Which is all terribly clever. But is it just me that thinks most passengers will have a quick play with the optional screen and then just spend the rest of the journey swiping at their own smartphone? I have to say, I was very, very relieved when I first jumped in here because I thought, all these screens, they're definitely going to have buried the heater controls in here. But look, they haven't. We've got some proper, knurled, high quality feeling buttons down here to adjust the temperature. And then if you want your heated or your cooled seat on, look, the whole panel moves. I mean, yes, it's a bit glossy and it's going to attract some fingerprints, but so does a touchscreen. And watch this. Look, my finger finds the temperature control, I don't take my eyes off the road, and now the car is getting warmer. How safe's that? The happiest occupant of a new Cayenne might well be your smartphone. To make pairing up with the infotainment easier, now you just have to point your camera at a QR code on the car's touchscreen. And the wireless charging area is now chilled, so your battery juices more efficiently. So that gives you an idea of what you can expect inside a Porsche from now on, but underneath this thing's overhaul has been equally as massive. I mean, take the suspension as one example, okay? The standard suspension has new valves, new compression and new rebound settings, so long story short, it's comfier when you go slow and it's tighter when you go fast. But then the optional air suspension has now got a wider spread of moods, basically between the normal, sport and sport plus settings. What's German for thorough? More concerned with how the car behaves in downtown Nuremberg than going around the Nürburgring? Well, then enjoy the fact the Cayenne is now clever enough to know when it's going into a tunnel and will automatically turn on its cabin air supply filtration system. That'll catch just about any pollutant particles lurking in the air and stop them from entering the car and getting breathed in. And speaking of air quality, you might want to drive your massive great SUV around emitting absolutely nothing from those tailpipes, in which case you'll want the new plug-in e-hybrid version. It's been a staple of the Porsche range for a while, but it's also had a huge update. So, more powerful electric motor up to 176 horsepower, bigger battery, it charges faster, and you get 56 miles of claimed electric range, which is over twice what you got from the old one. That sounds superb, but it's still actually about 15 miles less than you get from the new Range Rover Sport plug-in hybrid. Then again, the range is about 30,000 quid more expensive. To finish off, let's have a quick chat about the engines. This is the entry-level Cayenne, and under Batman's breastplate here, there is a 3-litre twin-turbo V6 with 350 horsepower. The Cayenne S is now back up to having a V8 that generates 474 horsepower and gets you from 0 to 62 in 4.8 seconds. And later on there will be a Cayenne Turbo, but interestingly the Turbo GT, the big 650 horsepower answer to the likes of the Lamborghini Urus and the Bentley Bentayga Speed, well, Porsche's had to drop it from Europe because it can't make the big baddest V8 comply with our emissions targets. It's a pretty chunky overhaul, isn't it? But it's worth Porsche's while bothering, not only because the Cayenne writes plenty of big juicy checks for the company, but also this car's got to last on sale a good few years yet until Porsche can replace it with an all-electric version. You see, this might be the car that once saved Porsche, but it doesn't mean it can't afford not to move with the times.